Welcome to today's video where I'm going to be talking about the Beaute Bar Pastel Garden Palette. And I'm definitely not in a need for pastels. However, something about this just drew me in. Between all the colors of the pastels and the shimmers dispersed throughout this palette, I thought that this could potentially be a really great all-around one and done type of pastel palette where you just kind of have everything you need in this palette. So I really wanted to try it out, and I haven't tried a lot of products from them. I also did get 4 shades of the loose pigments that came out during this launch. I believe there was 6 or 7 pigments. I got 4 of them, and I plan on doing a dedicated video on them, or definitely at least featuring them in some reels, so make sure you're following me on Instagram. So let's get right into the 2 looks, and I'll give you some of my thoughts at the end of the video. So for the first look, I'm going to be priming with the P. Louise Paint Primer in the Paint Shade 0, and on the other eye, I'm going to be using the shade 0.5 just so that we can see the pastels on top of a completely white base. I'm going to put that, I'm going to focus it on the lid and then kind of feather out the edges of that. So I'm just going to wipe off the synthetic brush and then swipe the edges up. And then I'm just going to set it with my finger, just kind of tapping it down. Taking Archangel, that's going to go onto the inner portion of my lid and up into my crease just a little bit. Using the Refa 14 brush. I'm using that to pack, which I could use another brush, but I'm kind of lazy, so I'm not going to. And then I'm gonna go in with, I think the orange, the Ballerina Tulip, right next to that. And then just slowly bringing it up into the crease. And then I'm taking Bleeding Heart on the outer corner. And I'm just blending it out, feathering out the edges. And I'm actually gonna take this What's Up Beauty R106 brush. It's definitely more of like a flat brush, but I wanna add a little bit more orange here. And I feel like I need something that will help pack rather than blend. Just wanted to kind of evenly distribute all the pieces here. Using a pencil brush to connect my lower lash line with the pastel pink. And then I'm also gonna go in with Ballerina Tulip underneath the center of my lash line, and then you know it, Archangel on the inner portion. And I'm like kind of tempted. I mean, I can't really deepen this up much, but I feel like if I add Iris, it might add just like a nice little layer in there. So I'm gonna go in with Iris on this pencil brush that I wiped off. This one's from Karla Cosmetics, and yeah, it's just creating like a nice little color here. Kind of blending together. It's interesting. Using the R106 brush from What's Up Beauty, I picked up Forget Me Not, and it's pretty chunky, so way too much got picked up. I actually think this is going to be best used with a finger. Now there's like so much on even my finger, it's quite chunky, and I'm just gonna pop that onto this half, which unfortunately, because I'm applying it with my finger, it's going to make it a little bit messy. I'm just gonna layering it over the entirety of the mats, and then I'm gonna use a Japanese rose. I'm just gonna go in with my finger again. This one's pretty yellow. It's gonna go into the inner portion. I can see so many flecks throughout both of these shades. They're not just like what they look like in the pan. I can see some green flecks in here and pink here, and then blue in this one. Super pretty for sure. And then I'm going to use Asterantia as my inner corner highlight. This one is super silky smooth. Just using my finger again. Oh, this one's got like a really strong purple shift to it. Here's the first finished look. For the second look, I'm going to be using the paint primer from P. Louise in the shade 0.5. So it's pretty much my skin tone, maybe just a tad bit lighter, but it's about the same as my skin tone. And just spreading that. And then with this primer, because this primer does dry down, it's not necessarily that it's wet, but it feels a little powdery, basically. So I'm just kind of pushing it down into my skin. Going in with Cornflower, I'm tapping that onto my lid. Trying to get as as much down as possible. Okay, the second layer is definitely helping a bit more. And then up into that, I'm gonna blend Slipper Orchid. Didn't even know that that was a name for a flower, I'm assuming. And then next to this, I'm gonna go in with Bluebell right here in the center. The shade is actually coming off a bit darker than I thought, which is good. And then I'm gonna use Hibiscus on the edge of that and blend it into this purple. Okay, I'm gonna switch to a blending brush now because that's not gonna really spread it around. I need a clean blending brush though, because with pastels, even if there's just the tiniest little bit on the brush, it will potentially muddy up the pastel. So I'm just taking my time to work in Hibiscus. I feel like it's stuck down a little bit. And I feel like I lost a little bit of a Slipper Orchid. So I'm gonna go in and just pack on over this. And then on the outer portion, I'm gonna take Lady's Mantle. And it's just gonna go right over here. I'm kind of just packing it on. And then I'm gonna use Ranculus. That's such a funny word. And help blend that out. Kind of create a wing shape. Kind of a lot going on in this look. Going back in with Lady's Mantle. Just because again, I feel like it's stuck down a little bit. And then of course, gotta connect the lower lash line. So I'm gonna take the Karla Cosmetics pencil brush and taking Lady's Mantle to connect. I'm just gonna actually go back in here and really trying to bring this out a bit more. Under the rest of my lower lash line, I'm gonna go in with Blue Star. And then, all right, what do I want to do in the lid? Because there's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on here. Taking Zinnia on my pinky, and I'm just going to put that on the outermost section. And then I'm going to use the Fair & Pixie Epoxy, and I'm going to put that on this inner portion, just so I want to see how these shimmers layer over a tacky primer. Picking up Morning Glory, and it's pretty flaky, but hopefully it will stick down once I place it all over the sticky primer. I feel like it's pretty much the same effect as with my finger, so I'm actually going to go back in with my finger just a little bit, see if I can add a little bit more. Oh yeah, that definitely did something. That is super pretty. I love those colors together. And then I'm going to go back in with Zinnia, just right here. I feel like that purple's getting a little lost. I kind of want a little pop of purple, maybe like near the inner corner or something like that. So I'm going to take a Hibiscus, and I'm just going to pop it like right here in the inner portion of my lid. So they kind of play off of each other essentially. And then I feel like maybe I'll use Pansy to layer over that. And then inner corner highlight. That is really blingy. Here's the second look. These are purely my first impression thoughts, as I've obviously only done 2 looks, but I try to use kind of as many matte shadows as possible, as well as shimmer shadows. And so first I'm going to talk about the matte shadows. There's some shades, as you can tell from the swatches, that are on the even way lighter pastel side. Like I feel like there's levels to pastels, and so you've got the ones that are like almost white, and then you've got ones that are a little bit brighter. So there's like a nice spectrum here, so you can use these to blend out some of the stronger pastels that might be just a little bit darker or a little bit brighter. That being said, these do take quite a bit of building up. They're not like full impact pastels like Shroud Cosmetics and Menagerie Cosmetics, but overall I really enjoyed playing with these. I definitely think a lighter base to really make these pop will help. Some of these shimmers are a little bit like on the thicker side. They have a bit of slick to them. There's this one shade that I swatched. I didn't use it, but in the swatches, where is it? We're searching the palette. It is this one right here. This one right here, it's a little bit on the squishy side, definitely feels a bit wet, probably the most wet out of all of these, so I'm going to have to be careful with this one, as these kinds of shadows tend to crease on me pretty quickly, pretty easily, and also a lot of these are a little bit on the chunky side when you pick them up. Even just when I pick them up with my finger, they were quite chunky. Now they do completely smooth out, and they leave an absolutely beautiful sheer, sparkly sheen all over the lid, as you could see, so I do really enjoy these, and I personally really love the layerability of some of these shadows when they're not fully opaque. You can kind of see in the pan which ones are a little bit on the smoother side and which aren't. So another one is Green Wizard, which this one is one of the shadows that actually sold me on this palette, which they have one of the loose pigments that they launched with this collection was also called Green Wizard, but it is a little bit different, and I will make sure to show the swatches on the dedicated video on the pigments. But I absolutely love that this shadow is in here. It reminds me a little bit of Mural from Clionadh and some other shadows that we have been seeing quite a bit of. It's kind of just like a grungy shadow, but it's pretty sheer, so you can really layer it and have fun with it, which is why I think it's great for this palette, especially because we've got the pinks where you have that pink shift, and then it's got the blues and the teals that you can also layer it over. I'm very excited to use this one on the lid. The appeal of this palette is if anyone's looking for some pastels and you just want one palette that has all the pastels, maybe you don't reach for pastels all that too often, then this might be ideal because you have the smaller pans, you have a lot of colors and tones to choose from. You could also bring this palette in with some other palettes that you might have that have mostly darker mattes and use the mattes in here to blend out those. So there's lots of opportunity. I'm very excited to keep playing with this palette, especially since now it is finally getting warm, it is spring, and I'm so ready for summer. So let me know in the comments below if you picked this palette up and what you think of it. I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, I would love it if you subscribe. There's so much indie makeup content uploaded on my channel and much more to come. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.